Hello, everyone. We have with us Hemanand very well. He has joined us for an interesting conversation for our data analyst position. He's going to give us a lot of career guidance, interview tips, skill related tips for data analyst role. He himself is a senior data analyst in Edgewell Personal Care, which is in Germany. Last week, he was promoted as a manager and he will be moving to UK. Before starting his journey as a data analyst, he was actually a mechanical engineer. He worked for Wipro for 2 years and he made this successful transition into data analyst position. And nowadays we are seeing many people coming from different domain making successful career in data analyst position in data science field in general. So that's why the conversation with Hemanand is going to be really interesting. So let's get started. Hemanand, thank you very much for sparing time today for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zawal, first of all, for this opportunity. And yeah, I'm really glad to share all these things with you and for a lot of people who I can see. Once I was in the same position, I was looking for guidance. I was thinking that someone might just give me some help to start. And I think now it's I'm already doing it. Like I'm trying to talk to people wherever possible and whenever possible. But this opportunity is really great because I can connect to a lot more number of people, and the initiative is really altruistic. So I'm really glad to be here.
Great. Your own journey. You were a mechanical engineer, and then just tell the whole journey.
Yes, I was a mechanical engineer, and basically my interest was with problem solving. It's not about a particular domain. And when I was in mechanical engineering, the bachelor thesis project I took was to solve to look for alternate fuels. So me and the other friends, we built a hybrid cycle that could regenerate its power from from a battery, from this motor rotor, all this combination, and basically it's a green cycle that wouldn't need any petrol or any fuel, and it just works on a battery. And from there, I was really thinking that I'm going to work in some automotive industry, and that's what I was really thinking. But when I got this job in Wipro, it was not in software. It was in engineering design services, which is more about which is more about a mechanical engineering, because it involved something like a benchmarking, it involved production planning, and all those things that looked really interesting. And I wanted to start my career in something similar to that. And I grabbed that opportunity, and those 2 years was a lot of learning. And I learned a lot about just about how the production planning process is done, because I was supporting some on-site projects from offshore. And that's when I was introduced to automation, because there were some automation projects going on. And since I did not know any of this coding and all the stuff, I was just there as a project manager and planning the projects and scheduling the tasks. But I got to know more about the task. And there was one call with Alibaba that I did on a particular day, and I was speaking with the people there, and I understood a lot about supply chain on the particular call. I understood there are a lot of problems on a daily basis, and that is kind of the point for me to do a master's in supply chain. And when I was looking for the master courses, Germany looked like a better option, because it was offering the education for free. You just have to put your living expenses, and it was a very viable option for me. That's when I went to Germany. I also learned the German language, because out of my curiosity, I just learned it when I was in my bachelor's. So that helped me. And then yeah, it was in the first year I got an internship in a company, in a German company. It was in operations department. They had a lot of data, and I was just going with my instincts to solve problems. And in order to solve the problem, I had to develop a tool in Excel, which would help them. And that's when I started learning all these things online. I just started Googling about how this VBA works, how advanced Excel formulas can be used, deployed, and how I can connect to different databases, data sources, and all this stuff. And I built a very simple tool. It is not like a very complicated. It's a very simple tool. People can enter some data and they can see it's a matrix where they can evaluate their suppliers, whether the suppliers are doing well or not. And that gave me a lot of motivation because that tool was instantly used by the people over there. And they gave me like a really good feedback that my manager back then told me that I have a really good understanding about the databases and stuff like that. I can do this further. And then I started looking for jobs in that area. And definitely the master thesis which I done was a proven experience that I can use to sell myself to a company, because of course they would nobody would pick people from non-data analytics background and with mechanical engineering stuff. But the thing I did was I started looking at a supply chain related company and supply chain related roles, because I did my master's in supply chain that made some kind of relevance. And then I moved to a supply chain role. It didn't have I didn't know that I have a lot of scope with data when I moved to my first supply chain role. But after a few months working there, I started in a demand planning function, which is inside supply chain. And after developing few tools, I started learning Power BI, and I started creating some reports which would provide insights for people to make decisions. Then our team scaled. So we took over the entire supply chain for doing data analytics. And I got an opportunity to work with different functions inside supply chain, starting from customer service, demand planning, supply planning, warehouse and distribution. So all these functions have a lot of data, and this data was trapped inside. So I had the opportunity to bring this data back and convert them to insights, which people and the businesses can use to take decisions. That was the core of my job. And all this was all this was not done overnight. It was a step-by-step change. And like I said, I had to go with my approach of problem solving. And in order to solve this problem, I had to learn a tool. I learned it. In order to solve this problem, I might have to look for a piece of code from internet. I picked it up and I put it and I deployed it. So that's how my journey is structured now. And I'm moving to UK now after spending 3 years in this role. Yeah.
It's actually very inspirational for many people who are watching, because when you started your career in mechanical engineer, you didn't start with a goal that you want to become data analyst. You didn't know about data analysis, but
Yes.
one thing that you mentioned, which is very important, is you are a problem solver. So if anyone has this problem solving mindset, and to solve a given problem, whatever tools, technology you need to learn, you're very open and flexible and you go and learn it. You're not like, okay, I'm a mechanical engineer, I cannot learn Power BI. Why not, right? So then you started with Excel, then you gradually evolved to learn Power BI and reporting and all that. And here you are going to lead a team now. You're a manager in data analytics. So this is really interesting. And I think many of the people who are watching, they ask me these questions, like they kind of bound themselves. People say, okay, I have a Bachelor of Commerce background. Can I become data analyst? They just put a cage around themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that mindset actually restricts their career growth. It's all about mindset, and nothing is hard. You can search through internet, you can learn. There are so many courses available. You can learn skills on your own. It's just that you have to be open-minded and you have to be willing to learn new things. So that's really interesting. So now, as a data analyst, 9 to 6, like what do you do typically?
It's not a same day every day, as you would agree with that. But on a regular day, let's split it into different parts. Let's maybe 4 or 5 parts. I think it would come to. The first part would normally be with dealing with issues, because there might be some emails or some messages in Teams that I need to look and solve the burning issues for the day, because that would enable people to resume their work. That's the first priority. I would spend around 1 hour to 2 hours in that. And after that, I become very relaxed, because once I don't have any issues on my table, that's normally I come to relaxation mode, where I go to the blog posts I follow. I go to LinkedIn. I search for any new articles, or I go to YouTube and look for new videos in the field that I know. For example, it's mostly Power BI related stuff, or it's Azure it's anything that would help me to, like, to perform my work better. So we just look on those videos, and that's normally 1 or 2 hours. And then it's almost lunchtime. We just get relaxed, and we start. Then the second half is mostly with talking to stakeholders. Either it's a new project or it's an ongoing project. I think talking to stakeholders is the most important part of my job, because I kind of try to align myself very close to the business outcomes. I don't want to restrict myself to saying, okay, I want to combine these two tables, X and Y, in order to get the Z table. I don't restrict myself to that. I want to understand, I want to combine the sales and marketing table in order to get, to know the most valuable product for my company. That's the kind of thing I would like to understand in order to, to make my work most valuable. And the stakeholders kind of help to that. So I start asking them questions. Why do they need it? And sometimes it's a very simple answer, but if I start asking more whys, I can get to the deep point of insight that they're looking for. And yeah, after that, I spend at least 2 to 3 hours of developing, the dashboards or reports, or just making it more usable, those kind of stuff. And that's the typical part of my day. And that's ideal day, but some days are not good days, where you spend most of your time in solving some issues, but those are not very often.
So in terms of technology and tools, you mostly use Power BI?
Yes, Power BI, and not just Power BI. There is this Microsoft Power Platform, which comes along with Power BI. It's Power BI Power Apps, where you can build an app and embed inside Power BI, where people can input the data. And there is Power Automate, which you can use to automate stuff. For example, you can do things like, okay, I want to refresh my data set when there is this email from this person or with this subject, and I want to take a copy of that in Excel and send it to this 100 people. All this you can automate using Power Automate. So all this combined together makes an effective analytics suite.
Okay, so it's a like collection of tools from Microsoft that you use to build visualization,
Yes.
build apps, and so on. Other than like, how important is to learn Excel for data analyst position?
I mean, for a person who has never used Excel, I think that's a starting point, because Excel and Power BI, I mean, if you ask me what is Power BI, in simple words, it's just Excel on steroids. So if you understand Excel, your transition to Power BI would be a lot easier. But if you are joining a company where they already use Power BI, you don't really need to start with Excel. You can just go directly to Power BI, because you don't really need it. I mean, in terms of learning this advanced formulas and all the stuff, macros, VBAs, you don't really need them.
Got it. Now, in a minute, we'll move on to the actual questions from the viewers. But I have one last question. Like, you have been successful data analyst and you have been promoted to manager position. So, what are the skills needed to become a good data analyst?
That's a very good question, though. I've seen different kind of data analysts in my tenure, and I think one thing that makes a clear distinction for a good data analyst is, like I said before, the ability to connect to the business outcomes. For example, if you are saying that if a data analyst is doing a job, and if you ask why he or she is doing the job, if the person says because my manager said so, or I just need this table to be in this bucket, that's not there's a scope for improvement there. Instead of just doing the job for the next step, it's good to understand the end goal of doing your job. And the second thing that's most important is your ability to communicate the technical things to stakeholders, because stakeholders don't really care how big is a data set. They don't care about the performance issues. They don't care about, sometimes you might try to explain them that, I have a very big data set, that's why there's delay. No, that's not going to work with them. So you need to understand, you need to develop a system to communicate to them because they don't really come from the technical background. So you need to kind of consolidate the information for them in order to win the stakeholder confidence. And the third thing is, this is the most important thing of all, is the constant learning mindset. Because this you see, I mean, like previously in traditional IT environment, the data analysts are, they're just combining the data, merging the data, like they're just performing the ETL, and they're doing this, all this stuff behind the screens. But, in current scenario, the data analyst and the business analyst all have merged and become one. So
Oh,
the companies, yes. So because of the self-service BI, which enables the business users like me to learn things like Power BI, Power Platform. This is low-code programming tools. You don't have to know a lot of programming for this. So what the business users have become, the business analysts have now become the data analysts, and the data analysts are trying to understand the business and trying to become a business analyst as well. So there is this transition. Because why this transition happened? Because there was a lot of gap between what the business users wanted and what the data analysts provided. So in order to bridge this gap, there is a self-service BI. Now the data analysts sit in the function itself. They don't just sit somewhere. They sit inside the function. They sit inside the supply chain. They sit inside marketing. They sit inside sales. And they are closer to the data, and they are closer to the end goals. So in order to make use of this opportunity, you need to learn constantly. That's the thing I want to say. That's the third most important point.
I think the insights you provided are very, very important, because many times people are targeting data analyst field and they just focus on technical skills, which is they
Yes.
learn Python, they learn Power BI and all these
Yeah.
technical tools. But technical
Yeah.
tools is, I think, 50% of the game. I
Totally.
think I would say more than 50% is what you mentioned, which is communication skills, understanding
Yeah.
what business needs, and then constant learning mindset. These things are
Yeah.
even superior to technical skills. So everyone listening,
Yes.
please be mindful that do not focus just on technology, because technology is a tool that allows you to solve given problem. But if you don't understand the problem well, there is no point of it, right? So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
very important to understand business. And when it comes to understanding business, there are a lot of factors at play. There is communication, there is human relations, there are like a lot of dynamics at play. And for that reason, I advise people to read two books, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you read that book, you will really learn how you can make your business counterpart or your engineering team your friend. Because if you have friends at job, things become much easier, right? And the other book I advise people to read is The Magic of Thinking Big. These two are not technical books actually, but people would just spend all of the time reading technology and they would not even worry about their soft skills. Soft skills are very, very important. Once you have good relationship with your business manager, with your colleagues, you can function so much better. So
Yeah.
I think you made a very good points on those tips. Let's move
Yes.
on to the
Yes.
specific questions asked by our viewers. Sam Mireku is asking specific math topics under statistics that I need to learn, because many times people want to become data analyst or data scientist and they
Mhm.
know that they need to learn math and stats, but math and stats is like a sea, it's like just so much to learn. So do you have any specific topics that you would suggest in math and statistics?
Again, though, I would say just go after your requirements. Sometimes you need to develop, you need to, for example, there is one project I did last year where I had to understand what is the variance, what is the standard deviation, and all those topics. Uh, I know them basically because I did my engineering. It comes as a package, but I do not really remember what do they actually mean.
Hmm.
And I just went to the, and I mean, there is one more important skill I want to add before going to answer this question, is the art of Googling. So
Hmm.
if you master the art of Googling, I mean, in your job, the 99% of the things that you're going to solve is already solved by someone else.
Hmm.
So if you just understand how to Google, how to type your keywords to get the best answers, or not just get end your journey with just the first page. If you just go to the further pages and then keep searching, there is answer for your query already. And that's what I would say. So if you have a problem related to statistics, you can just go after the concept, and you can learn within 1 or 2 days. But the general concepts that I think would help is the probability, to understand to understand the standard deviation, the variance, the coefficient of variation, all this stuff. General things would really help. Like all those things that you would have learned in your 10th standard and 12th standard. That basic stuff is enough to begin
Perfect.
with.
I think you said it really well. Google has all the answers. There are
Yeah.
two very good resources for math, especially 3B, 1B, 3 Blue, 1 Brown YouTube channel. There is mathisfun.com. Now, 3B, 1B is very good in understanding math. For example, you want to understand what is Fourier transform. If you start reading your textbook, you will be extremely confused. But then 3B, 1B will teach you how Fourier transform works using visualization. And those visualizations are super cool. Now, if you're looking to understand math by analogy and by using like real life example, mathisfun.com is a perfect website. When they explain, for example, what is a vector, okay, and how do you add two vectors, they will use an example of a plane. Let's say plane is flying and there is a wind. So there is this plane is one vector and wind is another vector, and then it shifts plane's position. So then the resultant direction that you get for the plane is nothing but the addition of these two vectors. Now, there are many less resources on the internet which will explain you math in this kind of simple way. And for that reason, I ask people that, okay, you follow mathisfun.com. And as you said, like whenever a problem arises, you Google the topic, you put kind of a pause on that problem. Many times you're stuck in a problem and you want to immediately solve the problem, but it shouldn't be like that. You're solving a problem related to, let's say, Fourier transform. Now you don't know Fourier transform, of course, it's going to take time. So have a patience. Now you say, okay, I'm not going to take a back seat, pause your problem. Do not worry about it. Take good amount of time to learn Fourier transform, series, time domain, frequency domain, whatever. And then come back. This is called like a project-based learning. And it's a very efficient way of learning anything pretty much. So people, I think, Sam, you should follow this advice. And general guideline for data analysis is descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics is something that describes data. Now, how do you describe data? So you can plot a pie chart or a bar chart in Excel, Power BI, Matplotlib, whatever tool you're using. You can plot different graphs. You can use So plotting those graphs will be descriptive statistics because it is describing your data, like plotting nice bell curve, standard distribution and all of that. And the inferential statistics is something that can help you infer insights from that data. For example, if you are drawing a plot of nice like a normal distribution, and if you see some point outside 3 standard deviation, those are likely to be outliers. So you can say that these are outliers, or you can generally predict that based on your restaurant traffic hours. You can predict that. You can plot different charts, and that would be descriptive statistics. But when you infer that the rush hours for this restaurant is between 11 to 1 p.m. on weekends, that is your inferential statistics. So you need to learn all of that. Bayesian statistics is also important. But as
that's very informative.
So as this field is very vast, I would go with the advice that you gave, Hemanand, is basically learn as you need to learn. And the point that you made previously is you need to turn yourself into almost like a learning machine, like you are just learning constantly all the time. Never stop learning, and then you will be good. Rajat Patel is also asking a question: how much strong mathematical background is needed to become a good data scientist? Now his question is on data scientists. Now I will answer this question. So data analyst and data scientists are kind of similar role, but data scientist is all the skills that data analyst will have, plus some strong mathematical statistics background and predictive modeling and machine learning skills, so it's like all data analyst skills plus you add math, stats, machine learning skill, and now you get data scientist. So data scientist of course needs little advanced math and stats skills than a data analyst, but again, you don't have to be like a super expert. If you have this learning mindset, if you have this problem solving mindset, you will learn all the mathematics. I don't consider myself to be very good in mathematics. In fact, I did not know much about Fourier transform. I recently learned about Fourier transform actually. I mean, we learned about all of this during college days, but if when you don't apply these concepts, you kind of tend to forget. But whenever need arises, I'm working on this image classification project, and the need arised, then I learned about Fourier transform and wavelet transform and all of that, right? So everyone, please keep this in mind that you can learn the things on fly. You do not have to be math guru when you decide to start your career as a data scientist. All right, let's move on to the next question. Altaf Parker is asking, which BI visualization tools do we master? Tableau, AWS, QuickSight, Kibana, etc. Hemanand?
And if you think about data visualization, the market leaders are Tableau and Power BI. But Power BI is a top in the quadrant. If you see the Gartner quadrant, Gartner is a organization which kind of does this evaluation every year and says who's a market leader and all this stuff. Power BI has been the market leader for the last 2 years in the BI analytics field, not just because of visualization. If it is for visualization, personally, I prefer Tableau. I think Tableau visualizations are better than Power BI. But Power BI comes in with an additional advantage which Tableau doesn't have, in my opinion, which is a lot of companies, if you see, are using Microsoft tools, be it Excel, Word, or they might have purchased a Microsoft suite that is enabling with a lot of other tools like Power Apps, Microsoft Power Automate, and there's a chatbot now and all those things. If you are using or learning Power BI, it is very, very easy to integrate with all the other tools that I mentioned before. And also it comes with Azure Machine Learning, where you also have the database. I mean, it's an entire suite. It's an end-to-end analytics package. Power BI is being the core of this package, will enable you to integrate and learn more things very easily compared to other visualization tools. That's my take on learning Power BI as a visualization tool.
And if there is a college student who wants to learn Power BI, I think they must be having some student edition for free or something, right?
I mean, Power BI is always free. So far, it's been free. You can sign in Power BI. That's another thing about Microsoft. They have very good guided learning. I mean, they can guide you through step by step. And if you go to Microsoft Power BI guided learning, if you just type that in Google, you will end up in the link. So they teach you from the very first step how to get the data. They also provide you with the sample data. You don't have to go to data for somewhere else. And they have courses like Dashboard in a day, Power Apps in a day, Microsoft Flow in a day, all this for free for students to learn. And not just for students, also for professionals who are transitioning from other domain. And there is also a very good business reason why Microsoft do this. They want many users to learn this so that they would go to the company and they will become power users, which will enable them to sell thousands of licenses to the company. That's a strategy I see it as a business. But for us, it's definitely a benefit for learners. You get to learn all these things for free, and if it's free, normally things are not of good quality. But in terms of Microsoft, I think they're of good quality.
Great. So people are confused sometimes because there's so many tools like Tableau, Power BI, Sisense, AWS, QuickSight, like so many tools, and people get confused. So I think in your opinion, Power BI would be the best choice because so many organizations are already into Microsoft ecosystem. It kind of makes sense. Microsoft tools are very intuitive, easy to learn as well, So to answer your question, Altaf, you can start with Power BI, and you don't need to learn all the tools, by the way. Just learn one tool and that's enough. And if you get a job in some company and if they require you to learn Tableau, you can always learn, knowing just one visualization tool, in my opinion, is enough. Okay, Sabari.
It's just like learning to sorry, just want to add a point. I always like this analogy. It's just like learning to drive a bike, right? If you know how to drive a Pulsar, you can drive a Yamaha. It's not a big deal. It's very
Wow,
similar.
that's a very good example coming from a mechanical engineer, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Good. So it's like a bike. Maybe Power BI is your Pulsar and
yeah,
your Tableau is Hero Honda or whatever other bike. I stopped
yeah.
driving bikes, by the way. I've been living in the US for like past 12 years
Yes,
and I'm almost forgetting how to drive bike.
you must miss them a lot here.
Yeah, I'm missing them. Uh, Sabari Sankar is asking, is SQL skill really needed for a data scientist? So we can answer this question in two phases, like is SQL needed for data analyst first and is SQL needed for data scientist?
I would say it's definitely needed. You can start with the basic knowledge. You don't have to be a skill guru, and you don't. I mean, it depends upon what kind of data analyst you are. If you're a data analyst who spends most of your time in doing ETL, extract, transform, and load, which means you are extracting the raw data, transforming it to certain requirements, and loading into the database. If this is your core part of your job, then definitely you need to be a good, to have a good skill in SQL. But if you're someone who are taking the you are using the data from the database and then creating reports and then merging different data sources and then creating some insights, those kind of things, basic knowledge of SQL is good enough. I mean, when I started to build all these things, I did not have any knowledge on SQL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, almost none. But I learned it because it helped me in doing certain things a lot faster. And when I learned SQL, I came to know that there is Python, there is R and all this stuff. And that's when I landed on your channel, learning Python. Thank you very much for that. And because Python can do what SQL does in a much faster way. And that's when I started learning Python. So to answer the question precisely, basic knowledge of SQL is good.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, for both the roles, basic knowledge of SQL is good enough. So do not worry too much about it. I have a video on how to learn data analyst skills. In that video, I have provided, in the video description, I have provided links of some SQL resources. One very good course is from Khan Academy. If you're just starting on SQL, Khan Academy has an excellent free course which will get your basic SQL concepts clear, your basic, tables, relational tables, foreign key, primary key, how to do join, inner, outer join, stuff like that. And on YouTube, Kuda Venkat has a great YouTube channel where he teaches SQL. So those, some of his videos are old, but the SQL concepts have not changed that much in my past many years. So yeah, so Sabari, to answer your question in one line, it's SQL skill is needed, but only basic skill. You don't have to be pro. Hema Kiran Mai is asking, we see many terms in data analyst profile job descriptions such as data warehousing, data wrangling, data modeling, which is very confusing. Also, we see SQL is common in all these profiles. Do we need to learn more than advanced queries like functions and procedures? Now, we already answered these questions. So in terms of SQL, Hema, basic skills are okay. Now on your confusing terms, data warehousing, data wrangling, data modeling, let me tell you one thing. I hate these confusing terms, like data wrangling. What is data wrangling? Data wrangling is nothing but data cleaning. So do not worry too much about these jargons. Actually, I personally hate these jargons because it confuses people. It makes people feel inferior that they do not know. So Hema, you might already know data wrangling, for example, right? Have you taken a simple data in your Excel and removed outlier using Excel? Just simple Excel file. Have you done that? If you have done that, you have already done data wrangling.
Yeah.
Right? So do not worry too much. People come up with these jargons and I don't know why they do that. They want to look cool, but these jargons are most of the time the concept that you already know. Okay. So you need to do some quick Google search and figure out what is this. Okay. And then just map that term with the simple concept that you have in mind and then not worry about it. Is there anything you want to add?
That's a very good answer. Yeah, that's a very good answer. I was about to say the same thing. In terms of data modeling, I would talk particularly about data modeling. I was trying to build this one-to-many relationship, many-to-one, all those different kind of relationship in a Power BI model. I think at least for the first 18 months, I did not know that I'm doing data modeling. When somebody
Wow.
asked me, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I did not know the term. This is what is called data modeling. What I was trying to do is simply, like just make this model work, and I came to know then data wrangling and all those things. To be honest, data wrangling, I don't really know what data wrangling is until the last 6 months, I guess. I came to know about this term called data munging, data wrangling, just because I saw it somewhere in some article. Then I saw it in Google. Okay, this is data wrangling. I know this following. Okay, like what you said.
I'm going to provide a nice link, actually. Data wrangling, there is a good, just a second. So this is the nice image which describes what is data wrangling or data munging. The data that you get in real life is messy. You see this person who is stuck in this big mass of wires. And all you do is you untangle all the wires and make it so that you can make sense out of it. That is your data munging or data wrangling. Okay, nothing fancy about it. And if you are worried about what is data warehouse, I have this video on what is ETL, data warehouse. Just watch that video. These concepts are very, very simple. Let me tell you that. There is nothing, no rocket science behind it. People just use this big hi-fi words and you feel like, okay, I don't know about these things. Okay, so let's move on. Rohit Prasanna is asking, my question is, as a data analyst, what is the proportion of work on machine learning algorithms?
I mean, almost null as a data analyst, if you think about it, because you need machine learning only for predictive modeling. As a data analyst, you will try to describe the problem to the company, and if you have the business acumen, you will try to prescribe a solution as a decision support. But predictive modeling or predictive analysis is something you won't do as a data analyst. And when you learn that part, like the well beautifully explained before, you will become a data scientist.
Perfect. That's a very nice and precise answer. Mustafa Kolo is asking, please add with this, what tools and online resources will freshers start with them? Do you have any specific tools? And like I made a video on how you can learn data analyst skills for free. And in that video, I have linked all the online free resources for your visualization tools, Python, math, everything. But is there anything, any course that you like or any suggestion you have?
I can talk about this one particular course from EDX, which I have recommended to a lot of people, and they really liked it. So EDX is having a data visualization using Excel and data visualization using Power BI. So these two courses will really help. These are for free. You can learn it for free, and you can also get a course completion certificate for free. But if you want to write an exam and get some certificate, you have to pay some $99. But I don't really recommend that. If you know this thing and if you have that in your resume, and if the interviewer is gonna ask you something about it, you should be able to answer that, right? Even without the certificate. So that's fine. I mean, if you have a course completion certificate for most of the courses that you are doing, that's fine. I do not recommend anything more. And like you must be having a good stuff in your video. I reckon that.
I think I have those two courses I have those two courses in my video, and I like edX because the courses are free, the content, the quality is really good. So those two courses link, I think I have those in my video description. So I would ask everyone to watch that video. I'm going to provide a link of that video in this video description below or as a pinned comment so that you can get all kind of free resources for data analyst skills. All right. Hitarth Kamdar is asking, what are the industry standard certifications needed to land a job? What do you look for on a resume? I reside in Canada and university courses on data analytics are very expensive, and I am looking to learn these things on my own.
That's a very good question, because I think this is a dilemma that most of the students face. Even as a student, I face the same dilemma. I wasn't sure whether to take a SAP course because I don't know whether I would get a job in SAP. So anyway, I ended up taking it. But the interesting thing that you need to see is like there are a lot of free courses available online, and a lot of them provide a free course completion certificate.
Hmm.
If you go to Coursera, if you go to edX, there are a lot of courses like that, and just add that to your resume, because adding that to your resume makes it more attractive, because it's a milestone in your learning journey. Definitely, it's not a destination, but it's a milestone in your learning journey. And as a person, as a hiring manager, I would be interested to know that you have spent some time learning this thing. So that should be shown on your resume. And if I think, okay, fine, I want to test your knowledge on that, I think you should be able to answer it if you've done the course. Most of the hiring managers won't ask very complicated questions on the interview. They just want to know, okay, if you have really done that or not, or what is your level of understanding, or what is your perception about this course. That should be it. And do not really go for paying for pricey courses and everything like that if you're not really sure about it. If you're
Yeah.
confused, just go for course completion things. Yeah.
I say this, like, if you are looking for any very expensive course, then if you have a friend who has already done it, if you have really
Yes.
close reference, and if you get a
Yeah.
very good recommendation, then only do it. Otherwise, you don't need to spend too much time on these courses. Having certificates on your resume will help you to certain extent in getting interview call, but getting a job, those courses are not going to help you. You know, your your selection will be dependent totally based on your interview performance. So keep
Yeah.
that in mind. Many times there are online online or in-person training institutes who claim that we will give you job guarantee, but that is complete fraud. No one can give you job guarantee. Your job guarantee depends on your performance during the interview. And to get the interview call, of course, these courses are helpful. One few other tips I give to people is you need to have solid projects on your resume. Now, how do you get those projects? I made a video on that as well, where I shared 5 different tips on how you can get experience even without having a job. You can go to an NGO or a business. Let's say if you have a relative who is running some store or something, ask them to build some simple mobile application or simple analytics software, right? Like businesses keep their data in Excel file, for example. If you have an uncle who is owning a grocery store, just say, okay, can you share your Excel file of all inventory or all your past your sales, and just draw beautiful visualization, maybe in Excel, Microsoft Excel, right? And share it with that person and see if that is useful. I mean, that will be kind of like a real project. And that person will be actually willing to do that project with you because he's getting the help for free. And those projects are important. The other thing is, which is a very important, is contributing to open source. If you have one line that I have contributed to open source in Pandas, your chance of getting interview call is gonna go high, very high. And for that, you don't need to spend any money. You can just go to, let's say, Pandas GitHub page. They have this issues tab where they list down all the issues. Pick one issue. It could be even helping them with documentation. You know, you don't have to be, again, super smart. You in whatever position you are, you can definitely help with open source contribution. So open source
Yeah.
contribution is like one of the biggest thing, one of the most underrated thing. People spend money on courses. They don't spend effort on doing open source contributions. So please do that. Prasant
Yeah.
Kalambe is asking, if someone has knowledge of data science but don't have certificate, can he apply for a job as a data scientist? Now, let me quickly answer. I think we already covered this. You can
Mhm.
definitely apply for a job. You don't need certifications to apply for a job. What you need is experience, like project experience. Okay. And as I said, I have a video, go at that, build the project experience. Bhavika Kapadia is asking, what courses this question is for you, Hemanand. What courses
Mhm.
you took in particular to become a data analyst, and what tool you use mostly? I think in terms of tool, you already answered. This is like Power BI
Yes.
and the suite of tools. That's the one he uses.
Mhm.
But can you mention some of the courses that you took?
All right. I mean, I'm not the right example for this, because I did not take any one particular course
Mhm.
completely to develop my skills. I just took bits and pieces of all the courses, and but there are a few courses that I that maybe in LinkedIn Learning, I had a LinkedIn Learning subscription, and I took the courses, for example, the 2-hour course, the 3-hour course in Power BI, just to hear it again and again, so that I register a few of the things in mind. But if you're a fresher or if you're looking for a job, please take the course completely, and so that you can get this course completion certificate to add in your resume. But if you're already in the job, you don't really have to take any particular course completely. You can just take the part of the course which you're really interested, or which are really going to help you, and not to waste time in going through the things which you already know. You can rather spend the time in something different, on a different course, which is more beneficial.
And if you don't mind, can we link your LinkedIn profile in this video, Hemanand, so that people can look at your LinkedIn profile? And I see on your LinkedIn profile you have some courses mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, so Bhavika, we are going to have his LinkedIn profile, and then you can just check his profile to see the courses. Now, there are some questions on freshers trying to get a data analyst job. Does fresher get job in roles like data or business analyst? Every job posting is asking for minimum experience in the field.
I think you partially answered that question, Dawad, before. You say that to build an experience by doing some projects for NGO or stuff like that. I can just add one point to that. Probably you covered that in the video. Having account in GitHub or Kaggle is really beneficial. I did not have them when I started applying for a job, but if I had that, my chances of getting interviews would have been more higher. Because right now, when we're looking for candidates, that's the thing that I'm looking for. If you're a member in a GitHub, or if you are taking data sets from Kaggle, it means that you have worked, you have showed a sign of curiosity. You are going to the data, you understand the data, and even without checking your profile, that's a good sign already. If you're just there in GitHub or Kaggle, and then it comes to a point where, okay, what you have done, what is your profile, and what exactly you have done as projects. And even if you have done this, the very famous one in Kaggle is this Titanic problem. That's a very interesting one. People take the data set and they kind of understand how many people would survive, or how many people, just to give the prediction. And in order to do that, you must have to do a lot of data analysis, exploratory data analysis, which is the job of a data analyst. You need to get the data of people, how many people are below this age, how many people are above this age, how many are male, female, and what is economic class of these people. So that's a lot of data analysis that you have done in that particular project, which is definitely an experience and to look for in the resume.
Perfect. That's a very good answer. So Vikas, first ask yourself, do you have a GitHub account or Kaggle account? If not, you should create an account, start working on some projects. Now, when we talk about projects on my channel, I have some data scientist type of projects. I have one project on Bangalore home price prediction where I built a website end to end. Behind the scene, you train the model, you will build a website, all of that. But that is more for data scientists. But part of the Pandas notebook that I have, you can use for data analysis and data exploration aspect. I'm also going to build image classification project. So many times what I suggest people is when you are doing a project, okay, do not go just totally for an academic project. Let's say you have Boston housing price prediction. That's a standard project in sklearn machine learning. Now you can learn that project and use it for a different type of problem, like instead of Boston house pricing, maybe do like Bangalore or Jakarta home prices. That way it looks little authentic, that you have, although concepts are same, you have given your genuine try in solving a real problem. Okay.
Exactly.
And if you mention those projects in the resume, those are gonna look good. All right, let's move on. Arijit Saha is asking, I think Arijit Saha already asked this question. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Arijit Saha, I think he has a similar question. How to get data analyst job with 0-year experience? I'm in 8th semester. How do I prepare myself? Where can I get job opening offer? So Arijit, we already answered this question. You need to
one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, though. If you want to say something,
No, you go ahead. I'll add that later.
Yeah, one thing I think I missed to say in the last question is sometimes you might not get a job directly as a fresher. I think internship is a starting point. You can start as an intern, There are a few companies who are really keen to take interns and teach them, to provide a learning platform and to teach them. Probably they might not pay you a lot, but that's good because you get infrastructure to learn, you get the projects, you get the real data, you get to know how to speak with the colleagues, because without any experience working in a company, it would be really hard to find a job directly as a data analyst. So if you start doing 1 or 2 internships, that would really boost your profile. And for your own benefit, it's not just to get a job, for your own benefit. In order to be a complete data analyst, in order to work efficiently, you need to have some level of exposure, not just to the work, the technical stuff, also to the people in the organization, how you're going to communicate with them, how you're going to talk, how things work. So these things would take away the fear that you might have initially working in a company. So go for an internship. That's a suggestion.
Very good point. Yeah. Any internship opportunity is going to help you tremendously. Shaurya Pratap Badauria is asking, how can, I think similar question, but I'll still repeat this question because it got many likes. How can a fresher get job in this field, and what qualities he can build and how? So Sauryajeet's and Arijit's questions are similar. Let's say you are a student in 8th semester, 7th semester, how you can start preparing yourself right now. Okay. And I will add a few things here, which is when you're preparing yourself for potential job offer, other than technology, look at other aspects, which we already covered, like the communication, listening skills. You know, many times people don't have listening skills. So have practice on listening skills. They say that people listen to reply. They don't listen to understand. Like when you're listening, listen to understand. And that's going to help you. And it will show you your personality. Like I take many interviews, and then when I talk to people, it's like I'm looking for that connection. Can I connect with that person? And sometimes it's not just a technical skill. Like, are you able to listen to me? Are you having amicable personality, like a friendly personality to work with? You know, sometimes people in the interviews are like so nervous. They look like so geeky, and you don't feel like hiring them because although they might have technical skills, they might be very hard to work with. We live in the world of collaboration. So you want to be having amicable, friendly personality, great communication skills. Communication skills are most important, guys. So focus on those. So sorry, like how much time you're spending on improving your communication. Sometimes people say my English is not good. How can I improve my communication skills? I give them this tip. You record yourself, first of all. Let's say the first question they ask is, okay, tell me something about yourself. Okay. So you have a phone. Okay. You record yourself that you are in an interview and you are being asked a question. How would you answer that question? After that, you watch that recording yourself. You immediately get a feedback on how good or how bad your verbal communication is. Sometimes you use a lot of filler words. You use the, so. You will realize that when you watch yourself, you watch your own video. This is something I realized, Hemanand, when I started my YouTube channel. My English was horrible. And when I watched my first video, I was using like so many filler words. So I timed myself that, okay, in 5 minutes, I use 100 filler words. I need to improve. So I again recorded myself, kept on trying. And now I'm in a stage where I'm not using, I'm not perfect, but I'm not using filler words as much as I used to. So Saurya Pratap, you can do a lot of things. Read these 2 books that I always suggest, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Magic of Thinking Big. Other than that, do you have anything to add, Hemanand?
No, I think that's fine. I think you covered pretty much it's more
mock interviews is also something that could be helpful. Mock interviews is something you can do with your colleagues, with your professors. I don't know if you guys do that in your university, but if you don't, then if you have a friend who is looking for a job, you both can kind of Google it and get the list of questions and just do a mock interview session. That will kind of help you.
Yeah, there is one thing, sorry, I want to add here. So if your English is really bad, I mean, I was in a state where my German was really bad. When I was in Germany, I needed to learn German or speak in German in order to fetch a job. I wasn't really knowing that I'm going to get a job in an international, team or in a German team. So, but later I got a job in an international team where they don't require a lot of German, but still I have to speak in German. So what I did back then is, like, if I'm interested in some product, if I'm interested in some service, I used to call these people because when you call the people who are in the service industry, they really have some level of patience to talk to you. So, I mean, you don't have to just prank call them, or if you're genuinely interested in an Amazon product, you can just call them and talk about that in English. I mean, that kind of helps you to, like to see how you can really speak, whether they are able to understand you, whether they're able to speak well, so you can evaluate yourself with that. But that's the thing I did for, when I have to speak in German.
That's a great tip. Another tip I give is like if you have any opportunity to present in your college or in your office, you should be looking to grab that opportunity. Don't think that my
Yeah,
English is
yeah.
bad. I'm going to look bad in front of people. It's better that you look bad when you are 20-year-old rather than you looking bad when you're 45-year-old, right? So
Yeah.
you like in my work, whenever I have an opportunity to speak at conference or speak in my team presentation, I'm always looking for it. I'm like behind my manager. Okay, can I present this? Can I present that? Because I see
Yeah.
that as an excellent opportunity to improve my own. uh, but it's not just English verbal communication. It's like a presentation skill. When I'm giving a little presentation, I'm always preparing, and I always make sure I use minimum words, convey my ideas in a most effective, concise way without using any filler words, with so much confidence. And those are the things you can improve. Those are the skills you can improve only by practice. And you have to be creative enough to create those opportunities for yourself. No one is going to come and offer you those opportunities. You have to build those opportunities for yourself. Meghna Reddy is asking, how can a fresher build his projects to qualify for a data analyst role? What is the future of this role post COVID-19?
That's a very good question. I think we answered the first part of the question, right, Dava? So we'll try to answer the second part now.
Yeah, the first question was fresher build projects. I want to add one point here. I did one session
Mm-hmm.
on data analyst resume review where I
Mm-hmm.
invited the actual data analyst resumes of people. And I had another friend of mine who is again an experienced data analyst. We reviewed, I think, 28 different resumes. And in that video, in the video description, I have provided a ideal resume link. So you should probably get that resume as a template, fill in your details, watch that session, because we provided so many useful tips on how you can even mention your projects. There is this concept of STAR, which is basically uh, what was the problem that you saw, like what was the task, like story. STAR is basically story, task, your approach, and your result. Your project description should follow this format. And we have discussed all those tips in that video. So go watch that. We'll move on to the second part, which is the future of data analyst after COVID-19.
I think the future is bright, because if you think about this, a lot of things are going to be not in the physical building now. It's going to be digital. So when you say digital, there is a lot of data. And when there is a lot of data needs to be analyzed, and you're going to get more opportunities. And if you see the trend, almost 90% of the data are still trapped within the companies that are not being used. So the companies are still trying to hire more people who can help build insights with data, not just. So there is a clear distinction here. It's not just data analysts. It's not just analysts who are trying to merge tables, combine tables. They are looking for people who are able to build business insights for them. So that's when your curiosity to understand the business, or your interest to look at the end goal of the business, comes into place, along with your technical skills of analyzing the data. So I don't think COVID will affect this. Maybe the hiring process, there will be some delay, but in my company, they started hiring virtually now. And I see that's going to happen elsewhere as well.
COVID-19, post-COVID-19, this is what I say, same answer. The future for anyone who is in programming, automation, technology, the future is even bright. During the lockdown, look at which companies were doing very good during the lockdown. Amazon was doing great. Facebook, Google were doing that. Why? They are all technology companies. Which companies did not do well? JCPenney is a store, clothing store. It shut down its operation. because it's a brick and mortar store. They were not, I think, very good in terms of technology. They had to close their business. Many people will lose the job, but those will be the people who are not in technology. So if you're in technology, do not worry. The future is bright. My friend has my brother actually has a software startup, and guess what? His business has increased exponentially during this lockdown, because now his company is in India, and he's getting so many calls from doctors saying that they want to build telemedicine application. There are many schools who do not use software, and now they are reaching out to him. They want to build the software because, what if there is another lockdown? And once you get into habit of using technology, you kind of get stuck to it. So the future is bright. I would not worry about COVID-19. I would take COVID-19 as an opportunity, because you are getting so much free time. You're not wasting too much time in going out and shopping mall or unnecessary socializations or on commute. You're saving all this time. So guys, this is actually a golden opportunity for you. Use it to upskill yourself, learn new skills, and do not worry about the future. In Bhagavad Gita, they say that do the karma, do not worry about the fruit. It will just happen.
Yeah.
Faraz Hussain is asking, again, similar question. How can a fresher get into data analyst? So we answer that question. Another part is, can a fresher from BCom background get into tier 1 company like Amazon? Now, let me quickly answer this question. If you have BCom background, you can first of all become data analyst for sure. I have got thousands of comments. I have BCom background. Can I become data analyst? You can, 100% sure. Can you get into tier 1 company like Amazon? Now the answer is you can. It's going to be difficult, because if Amazon has a data analyst position, there are 1,000 people applying. Like for one application, they'll probably get 100 application. One position, they'll get 100 application, and out of those 100, probably 90 will be with computer science background, with stat background and all that. Now, if you have BCom background, of course, your probability of getting a resume interview call is going to go down. But at the same time, if you're something like, I have been contributing to Pandas open source. I have made a 15 pull request in Pandas. They have been successfully accepted. Your resume is going to now look very different. And you can get a call from Amazon, and you can definitely get hired in tier 1 company with BCom background. But you have to do some extra hard work for it, contributing to open source, being very good in math, statistics, learning those skills. You have to separate yourself out from the crowd, and you will get it. I have a friend who has a BCom background. He is in Accenture. He's a senior data analyst. He's doing awesome. So tier 1 companies, you can definitely get into with BCom background. Hemanand, anything you want to add?
Yes, I think you have covered pretty much well. One point I want to add is, like, if you want to get to a tier 1 company like Amazon, you need to develop a pathway for that. I mean, that might not be your immediate destination, but there might be some intermediate step there. Probably you want to, since you're coming from a BCom background, first thing you want to do is like move to a data analyst role. You just learn a lot of stuff there, and you build your skills, you build your resume, and then you apply for a any tier 1 company. They would need you, because if you're providing the value they need, they would, why not? Then definitely they would like to have you.
Exactly. And tier 1 companies, good thing is they do not look at your degree. Actually, they look at your knowledge. Nowadays, tier 1 companies on higher college dropouts. They do not care about degrees at all. Let me be very upfront. They look at your past project work experience, your contribution to open source, and various things like that. Degree doesn't matter. Okay, Shivam Agrawal. First question is, how can a person with non-CS background with necessary skills and certificates can get a job? And yes, where does he apply, or what companies he should look for, and where to start circulating his resume to get interviews post this pandemic? So let's cover that. So now some of it we have already covered. It's repetitive, but there is one aspect, which is, how do you even, which companies do you apply for? I would say if you're in Bangalore, just go to your any job portal, and just look for jobs which are in your area, right? Or if you're ready to move, look for the other jobs. So that's pretty straightforward to answer. And another thing is how to start circulating this resume. Now, one thing I want to add on this point is, Make a good LinkedIn connections. People often do not worry about their LinkedIn profile that much. You can search for Amazon data analyst, or let's say Flipkart data analyst in LinkedIn. You will find some profiles. Send them a connection link. Just send that okay, I want to connect with you. Use you nice terms. You don't want to be looking like you are going to be burdened for those people once they accept the connection, right? So you, again, this goes back to your communication skills, which you can get from that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And once you have built those connections with people who are working in those companies, try to communicate with them. Try to say that you know what, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for some guidance. Can we have a quick 10-minute call? And have a call, build those connections, and maybe then later those people can help you in providing a referral, because in companies, referrals works the best way. If you have a referral from internal employee, your chance of getting into a call is going to go up. Building connections, extremely important. I know going to conferences has to have stopped because of COVID-19, but after this thing is over, there are many conferences which are being held. So even if you have to pay some money out of your pocket, you pay the money, but you go to conferences and build connections there. There are many college students who come and present in conferences. And when you build those connections during those conferences, your chance of getting hired or chance of getting interview calls will just shoot up. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty much you covered it all.
Okay, his second question is impact on job market post COVID-19, which we already covered. So let's go to the next question. Now these questions are related to some interview tips. So Shoaib Ahmed is asking, are there any tips on technical interviews for data analyst? I had one recently on Python to do with list iterator. Okay, he provided some link on Python programming. So, but yeah, any technical interviews for data analysts, any tips that you want to add?
First thing you need to understand when you're going for a technical interview is like what mindset you're going there with. Most often, they don't really want to, gone are those days, they really want to memorize everything, memorize all the codes, and they want to test your coding skills. Back then, they were testing your memory power. They were not actually testing your coding knowledge. But now, what they want to know is like, what is your approach? How would you approach this problem? And what kind of steps you're taking, and what kind of things you would consider, what is your hypothesis, and what kind of questions you ask them back. Okay, if I have this, so they also get that in order to proceed to my solution. So these are the things that are considered in technical interviews these days. And since everything is available online, you don't have to have all of these things in your memory. So don't think about memorizing all these codes or knowing about every piece of code. You just have to know that what is need, how you have to keep your mindset in order to approach to the solution.
Exactly. You said it very right. For the interviews, I think if you can do mock interviews, that might be better. For mock interviews, you can ask your friend, you can ask your LinkedIn connection. If you have LinkedIn connection, let's say with some data analyst, okay, senior data analyst who's already taking resume, you can ask that person to conduct your mock interview. We live in capitalist economy. Everyone is looking for their own selfish motive, right? Like why would some person spend 1 hour with you doing your mock interview? He can do only for two reasons. One, you are offering any financial remuneration. Second, are you having good relationship with that person? Have you done anything good for that person? So we live in this world, and you have to understand that when you build a connection, try to be nice with people, try to help them with anything, right? Let's say you are a fresher, you are living in Pune, okay? And there is some data analyst that you already have connection with, and then that person is moving to Pune, for example. Help him find accommodation. Try to, in general, try to help people as much as possible, because the law of reciprocity always works, and your good deeds will come back to you. It will come back to you multiplied by several factors. So try to help people as much as possible, and try to use your connection in a wise way. Now going to on the real technical interview part for data analysts, they can ask you a lot of theoretical questions as well, which you can Google like data analyst interview question. You'll find tons of questions. But then they will ask you scenario-based question where they give you scenario, where sometimes they give you a data set. They say, okay, here is the sales data set. can you build some graphs out of it? Can you build, can you do some inferential statistics work on this? Can you draw some insights? So those kind of questions will be asked and you need to work on that. I'm also planning to build a project series for data analyst position especially. So I think already working on one project. So whenever that series is up, you will look at those projects and you'll get an idea on like, what kind of projects you can work on, which will help you eventually during your interview. All right. Chavi Bansal is asking, how can we get expertise in SQL and Python? Can you ask him, which is you, Hemanand? Because according to me, it depends upon the logic, but interview directly, they will give you the complex scenario regarding SQL and Python. And how should you deal with it? So the question is basically during the interview, let's say they give you some sample data set or they draw some tables on the whiteboard and they ask you maybe some SQL queries. So how do you deal with that?
To get such things, I think the only thing that you need to do is like, I mean, if you don't, let's say that there are two scenarios. The coding, so you are already well versed in the code, so you will straight away do the coding. But let's say if you're not good in the coding, but you still want to present your knowledge, that's when I said the approach comes to the play. The approach and the kind of questions you ask them back comes to the play. And of course, you are sitting in such kind of interviews, you would have some basic knowledge of SQL, you would not have some basic knowledge of Python, and that's what they're testing you for. And if it is very complex, if it is beyond your thing, but if you think you can learn that, if you think you can apply that knowledge, it's better that you express it. You start asking the questions like, okay, what is the purpose of this stuff, and how can it, like you are approaching the solution incremental steps. That's what you want to display in such interviews, in case if you don't know how to proceed further.
Yeah, and Glassdoor.com has many questions for data analysts. So if you go to Glassdoor.com, people go for the interview and the real questions that they were being asked, they will post those questions on Glassdoor. Okay, so you can go to like Glassdoor. Okay, for this specific company, what people ask, you get some idea, and you can prepare. Okay, you have to always prepare before the interview. If you're looking for coding interview, there is a Lit Code, there is Career Cop. There are many websites where you can do competitive coding practice. There is Gigs for Gigs. So practice. I mean, as you practice, you make yourself better. Now we're moving on to the last section, which is very relevant to you, Hemanand, because these questions are related to the people who are in non-technical or non-data analytics type of career, trying to move to data analytics career. And the first question is from Ashraf Ali. If you could discuss little in depth about how to transition career into data science from professional who has few years of experience in other domain, especially electrical domain, and what extra efforts are to be put in by their professionals, and if he has personally seen some people transition successfully. Now, he himself is this example, so he has, of course, seen. Have you seen other people making transition successfully?
Yes, I quite a few in my opinion, and I mean the very recent example I could say is like there is one person I know, and he's almost 40 years of age, and he is eager now to transition to this field. So you can, and I've already recommended the course and stuff like that. He started working on it. I think this is the mindset I'm talking about, the learning mindset. I mean, he's very comfortable in his job. There is no risk for his job. He's very happy with what he's doing. He doesn't really need to change a job. I mean, there are some reasons for people, which could be financial, which could be job security, but for him, it wasn't really a reason. He just moved to this job out of his own curiosity. And coming back to the question of Ashraf Ali, I guess, he was asking that he wants to know the in-depth, the step process to transition. Okay, let's sit back and go to the basics. So if someone wants to hire you for a position, why would they hire you, right? Because they are expecting some kind of value from you, right? And sometimes the job description is not very close to what they really want. It based on the person they see in the interview, it could slightly vary because they might compromise for few job description qualities. So if you really don't, they might say that you should have 3 years of experience in SQL or 3 years of experience in data analysis. Some people might stop applying for a job, but I would just say just try your luck. It's not going to take a lot of time for you. And when you are in the interview, you need to prepare a selling story for yourself. Just put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter and try to convince yourself whether you would hire you for the job. And try to, in the process, you will start picking a few things from your career, from your experience, and you should start building a selling story. For example, let's say you are from a sales background and you haven't worked a lot with the data, you have a sales experience, and you are going to a team, let's say you're going to a marketing team as a data analyst. Of course, you have a lot of insights as a salesperson, which you can help the marketing team with. Along with this business insights, you said that you also learned data, doing some courses, doing some certifications. So combine these two together, you are providing a unique value which a normal data analyst could not provide. So this is how you sell your story. This is how it's convincing for the recruiter. Okay, if the recruiter is hiring you, he is getting a sales insights. Along with this insight, you can deliver the business values better for them. And that's how you see how you fit in for the job and when you're applying to it.
And since he's from electrical background, I want to add something that if you're looking for transition, do not think you're starting from ground zero. You have studied signal processing, for example, in electrical engineering. And guess what? In image classification project that I'm going to do, I'm going to use wavelet transform, which is your whatever time frequency domain, Fourier transform, Fourier series, all these concepts you already know. So you are not starting at ground zero, first of all. And in terms of in-depth process on how do you transition, at the beginning of the video, Hemanand already mentioned his story on how he transitioned from mechanical engineering to data analyst background, so you can use the tips from that conversation. All right, Ram Kumar is asking, he's an MTech in power system engineering and working as an assistant professor. Can I become data analyst, and what is the step-by-step process? So now it's a I think similar question. I will just add one tip, which is if you are an assistant professor in your college, do you see any projects that you can work where you can apply data analysis? Data analysis could be as basic as using Excel file to draw different charts, apply different formulas, VBA. If you do that, that is a data analyst project. It could be more than that. It could be using visualization tool. It could be using Python, etc. Like when I talk about Python, it's a versatile language which you can use in any domain. In your power system engineering domain, you can pick up a problem and you can solve that problem using Python. So why don't you start working on little Python project, and that project will be in your domain, and that will give you a nice segue to transition slowly, because this transition is going to happen slowly, like how it happened with Hemanand. He started dealing with this Excel and gradually he got interested in that. And it was a gradual shift. It's not going to happen like overnight. So the one line tip I would say is in your profession, in your college, whatever work you're doing, try to identify projects where you can apply Excel, Power, visualization skills. All right.
One thing I would like to add here, Jawar, is if you take his job profile, he's an assistant professor. So he has taught a lot of people. He must be having a good teaching skills. As a data analyst, let's say after a year or so, you must be teaching this to a lot of business users. You must be teaching how to use a report. You must be teaching how to use this sheet, and how you are giving this data literacy to other people. So that's a thing that you can add in your resume, that you are a good teacher. You are able to convey your information to your students, and they're able to understand it, grasp it. That's already a selling point for you. So you just have to pick your abilities. It's not that you have to create it just on your resume. You already have it. It's just the way how you present it to the recruiters.
Very well said. Pransu Desmukh is asking, how likely are they going to consider a person from non-data analyst domain if they want to get into this job, and if the previous experience matter? So first part we already covered. On the second part, your previous experience is always going to be useful. If you have, as Hemanand just mentioned, if you have teaching skills, that skill is going to be useful. Data analysts often work in a specific domain, right? There could be financial, data analyst, insurance, retail. And if you have worked in retail, not as a data analyst, but in different role, you know the domain, right? The business, like how the business works, how that industry works. You have that knowledge. So that experience is not
Yeah.
gonna go in waste. One thing I would say is when you apply for a job, do not mention too much about that experience. Have little summary, but majority of the resume should be centered around your data analytics project, which you would have done on your own.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move. Naresh Pathina is asking, I'm into other domain, which is banking operations. Okay, that's interesting. Finance. Recently, I learned data science from one of the trainers and gained good knowledge. Also, I have done few projects. Now I need to land a job in data analytics. How would I start my job search? Okay, so he has multiple questions. First, let's answer this question. How would you start a job search with the given background? So he has banking operation domain knowledge. So domain knowledge is going to be very, very helpful to you, Naresh.
Yeah.
And you learn data science from one of the trainer and good and gain some knowledge, and you have done few projects. So then I would say you're good to go. You have done few projects. You follow my video on how to build a good resume. So you build a good resume, put those projects and start applying for the job. Okay. So that's the answer of your first question. The second question is, what are the major things interviewer would expect from the candidate? I think we already covered that. And how should I prepare for the interview? I think we covered that as well. Is there anything you want to add?
I think as an overall point, I would like to reinstate the point. Start building a story. Start with a story. As a let's say if you are from a banking and operations, start looking for a data analyst role in a similar domain. For example, in the finance domain. That's the first point. You should not just go and directly go and apply in supply chain. They would, because you don't offer value there, because you are a bit fresher as a data analytics person, and you don't have the domain knowledge. So go for a place where your domain knowledge is helpful. That's the first thing. And emphasize on your projects in the resume according to the job description, because you might have done the project and you might have built your resume in a very generic way, but looking into the job description, you just have to pick some points for your project which is more relevant to the job description. So that's the thing you can do. And yeah, I think rest everything is pretty much covered by you, Dhawan.
Aishwarya More is asking, is there a transition into data analyst role for a person who has almost 5 years of experience in sales background in ad tech sector? Okay, so this person has a 5 years of sales experience. Being an engineer, looks like she's an engineer having 5 years of experience in sales background. Is the transition possible? Short answer is yes. Second question is how to proceed keeping in mind the above scenario. Also, what would be the salary margin for such individuals? So, okay, let me answer this question. So, how to proceed with this scenario, the guideline remains the same. Whatever we have discussed so far, same guideline. What will be the salary margin? Well, I don't know how much you are earning right now, so it's hard for me to answer this question. Data analysts on average as of 2020 in India get around 7 to 8 lakh rupees, I think, per annum. For mid-level companies, if you're going for tier 1 company, you might get even 15, 20 lakhs per annum. Okay, so it really varies on the location, your experience, the company, and so on. If you are looking for a transition sometimes, and if you're passionate about it, even if you have to make some compromise with the salary, I would do that, because you're making the transition. So you have to give up on something. But look at your situation, your family, like how much your family is dependent on your salary, and make an informed decision. Okay, do not rush into the hype that, okay, this is the hype and I want to go. Do not do that. Okay, just make very informed decision. Anything you want to add?
That's a very valuable point you added, Dhaval. People really think, data analytics is a high-paying job, so people want to make this transition, and somehow they end up in a company which really is not suitable for them. And I had one person I know who had a very tough situation like that, and I think what the person then had to do is like to go to an internship, sacrificing the salary, and probably the internship was not even paying, I guess, and then sitting there for some time and then moving to data analytics role. But the one thing that you need to be sure is like you need to have a clear mindset of what's going to happen in the next 6 months, what's going to happen in the next 12 months if you're doing this transition after 5 years of in a well-paid job.
Yeah, Sadasiv Gawade is asking, can a database developer having 10 years of experience switch to data analyst job? All right, let me ask this now. This is an interesting scenario. You are a database developer, 10 years of experience. Now you want to become data
Yeah.
analyst. Why don't you try data engineer post instead? Because usually database developers get paid higher than data analyst. Now, if you are
Yeah.
interested in data analysis and if you want to use data analyst as first step to become a data scientist, then it's fine. But with awesome experience that you have of 10 years in database developer, you can probably become data engineer. And in the field of computer data science, there are many different roles. There is data analyst, data scientist, and data engineer. I have a separate video on that. So if you don't know the difference between these three, go watch that. But for you, I would probably say maybe targeting data, like data engineer is probably a better choice. Second question is, if yes, how much package he can expect? I already answered that many times. Majority of the times, data analysts get paid less than database developers, experienced database developers. Can he get the same package as his? I think, yeah, we already answered that question. Anything you want to add?
No, I think you covered it all. No,
All
thanks.
right. KV Swami has a question, how to get freelance projects on data science. I have already covered that in my past videos.
Mm-hmm.
There are websites such as freelancer.com, upwork.com.
Yeah.
All
Upwork.
these
Yeah.
all these websites have these are like a marketplace for freelance projects, so you can
Mm-hmm.
register your profile. uh,
Mm-hmm.
these platforms have a lot of competition actually, so you will have a hard time finding your first project. Let me tell you that upfront. Do not get demotivated. I'm just kind of preparing you mentally, but that doesn't mean you cannot do it. I know one guy who is in, I think, third year of his college. He's from
Mm-hmm.
He's from a small town in Rajasthan, India. He's in third year of his engineering. He's making more than 1 lakh rupees a month on Upwork.
That's
He
cool.
started simply by doing some simple project, and then he caught attention of some of the MIT guys who were trying to do his project. And now he works with those MIT guys. You know, MIT is a big university in US. He's working on project with those cool dudes, and he's getting a lot of mentorship, plus he's getting paid. So if a third year engineering student living in a very small town of Rajasthan can do it, you can of course do it. You just need to have a lot of patience, you need to do a lot of hard work and so on. All right,
Yeah.
we had a great session. We covered so many questions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I think it's one and a
Yeah.
half hour already. Uh,
Oh,
I
really? It.
Yeah, time flew actually. I want to
Yeah,
restrict
I
this
didn't
session.
realize it. Yeah,
I
I didn't
want
really
to
realize, to be honest.
yeah, I want to restrict these sessions to like half an hour or something, but it just goes on. I mean, so thank you very much, Hemanand. I think it was amazing to hear
Yeah,
your
yeah,
thoughts.
you're very much welcome, Dava. I feel really, I feel really happy for doing this because I mean, I didn't really feel like it's an interview or something. It was like a casual chat, and that's going to help few people. I'm really happy about knowing that. Yeah, but that's great. I mean, like that's really a good feeling. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And for
Yeah,
everyone, please post in a video comment below. How do you like
yeah,
this session? If you like this session at all, just please post in a comment below so that I know if I want to conduct these kind of sessions in future or not. Also, if you have specific feedback on this session on how we can make it better, please let me know. Sometimes audio quality is a problem. I know, and I'm working on it. I'll get to improve on that, but I have some limitations. But other than that, if you want these sessions to be limited to a certain time, or if you want these sessions to be geared towards a specific topic, although I try to group the topics, we cover different topics, or starting from like how to transition from non-technical background to data analyst, to data analyst skills and tools and interview skills. We cover like different areas. So there was a
yeah,
grouping But other than that, any feedback you guys have, please post in the comment below. I try to read all my comments, and they help me improve, and they help me improve the quality of the content that I can deliver to you. All right. So thank you very much. Bye.